Congratulations, you have made it to the end of week number 1 to day number 7, actually, out of 30 days of this free TradeLikeVu bootcamp. And within the last episode, we talked about market structure and technical analysis. But today's episode, we are going to talk about a mindset and trading psychology lesson. So in this episode, I actually want to talk about how you should think about success in trading and how you redefine the way of thinking, how you retrain and rewire your brain so you can actually think like a profitable trader. But in order to do that, you need to understand how profitable traders think. And that's what this episode is for. Let me tell you, this is one of the most important lessons out of this whole bootcamp, because as I said in the previous episodes, most traders get it wrong because they only focus on the technicals. They only focus on the strategy or on the system, which they are using within the markets. But that's actually only half of it, right? So the second and more important part is actually to master yourself, to master your mindset, to master your emotions, to master your nervous system, right? In order to execute that strategy. Because you can have the best strategy in the world. If you don't have the mindset, if you don't have the discipline, the psychology to actually execute that strategy in the live markets, that strategy is useless, right? So that's how a profitable trader thinks, and that's how you should think as well. So you need to learn how to rewire your brain. You need to learn how to regulate your nervous system in order to flawlessly execute your trading strategy under live markets pressure, right? So the first thing you need to understand is the market is a whole ocean of uncertainty, right? What does that mean? The market's movements are always uncertain. Nobody in this whole world can predict the movements of the markets, okay? If there was a single person that could do that, there would also be a strategy which has a 100% win rate, and obviously that's not the case. So you can tell that there is not one single person in this world who has a 100% trading strategy with a 100% win rate, right? So the market is a whole pool of uncertainty, which means in trading, you need to learn to think in probabilities. Okay, maybe you've heard that term so far, and maybe you've heard that term in the past, but you actually need to understand it. What does it mean? That means you cannot attach your ego or cannot attach your emotions and your mental state to one single trade, because a trading strategy or a trading system only works over a longer period of time and over a larger sample size of trades. That means if you enter a trade which follows 100% of all your rules, you shouldn't be worried about the outcome. You should fully detach from the outcome, okay? And you should feel the same about this trade, whether it wins, whether it loses, or whether it will be a break even or whatever, okay? As soon as you place your order and enter the trade, you have done your job, okay? You have done your job, you're finished, and now you leave it to the markets, you leave it to God or whatever you believe in, right? So you cannot control the markets. You must be aware of that. That is really, really important, because most traders, when they enter a trade, they think that they can control the markets. They want that trade to win and they want to avoid that loss. But as I just explained to you, the markets are uncertain. And that means that you cannot control the outcome of that trade. But what you can control actually is you following your rules, right? So you need to focus on the things that you can actually control in trading. And that is following your rules no matter what, regardless of the outcome, regardless of your emotions, regardless of how you feel, regardless of what you think will happen in the markets, okay? You need to follow your rules as good as you can, okay? Always. And that should be your number one priority in trading, okay? So thinking in probabilities and detaching from the outcome. So now let me explain to you what most traders out there get wrong, because they don't know what actually a win and a loss in trading are, okay? So you need to redefine what you consider as a win and what you consider as a loss when you are trading. So let me explain to you. It's very simple. A win is always when you follow your rules 100%, okay? Whenever you take a trade or you're not taking a trade, okay? As long as you followed your rules, it's a win, regardless of that trade being a winner or a loser or a break-even trade, okay? As long as you follow your rules, it's automatically a win. Okay, the P&L doesn't matter at all because, as I said, one single trade, the outcome of one single trade doesn't matter at all. What matters are 100 trades, 1,000 trades, right? Because then the more trades you take within your trading strategy, the more likely your statistical edge within the markets can play out. Okay. And the less trades you have, of course, the less likely your statistical edge can play out. So your focus should be on following your rules on every single trade that you take. Okay. So every time you follow your rules, it's a win. And contrary to that, you can imagine it's always a loss if you break your rules or if you don't follow your rules. Okay. Because then what happens is if you don't follow your rules and, for example, you just enter a trade out of FOMO or like you think that suddenly your strategy doesn't work anymore and you suddenly hop to another strategy and take that trade, what happens then is you take that loss, right? And that either leads to revenge trading, to overtrading, or to over leveraging, or griefing, or whatever, or tilting, or whatever, right? And that is an avoidable loss. And that is really, really important because that happens to most of the unprofitable traders out there is they get impatient, okay? They get impatient because they lose trust in their strategy or whatever, okay? They can't control their emotions. They can't control their actions. They can't control their brain. So what happens is they jump strategies, they revenge trade, they overtrade or whatever, and that leads to avoidable losses. And the keyword is avoidable here because these losses could have been avoided if you just simply stuck to all your rules. Okay, so that is very, very important. Redefine the way you think about winning and losing in trading. Okay, winning in trading does not mean a green P&L. It doesn't mean that you made money off one single trade. A win in trading does only mean that you followed all your rules, even if that one trade was a losing trade, even if that P&L for that day is red, you still won because you followed your rules. Okay, because these losses that happen within you following your rules are unavoidable losses. Okay, that's the difference. There's avoidable losses. I just explained to you. That's like revenge trading, overtrading, jumping strategies, or whatever. Okay, griefing, tilting, or trading out of FOMO. Okay, these are all avoidable losses. And the unavoidable losses are actually the losses within your system. So I always talk about them as good losses, right? So I always name them good system losses because they are losses within your system. They are part of your edge. You need to accept them, and you need to learn how to treat every single outcome of every single trade the same way. Okay, as long as you followed your rules, it doesn't matter if that trade wins or loses or is a break even. Okay, the only thing that should matter to you, the only criteria you should follow is: did you follow all your rules? Yes or no? If yes, it's a win. If no, it's a loss. Simple as that, regardless of the outcome. Okay. So let me give you an example about the good system losses. Okay. So the unavoidable losses. As I told you, these are good losses, and you need to learn to accept them as sort of business expenses. For example, okay, if you're currently working a 9-to-5 job, you have expenses, right? You have to get to work somehow. For example, you have to take the bus, or you have to ride with your car to your place of work, wherever that is, right? So you need to fuel your car as well, right? These are all business expenses for you to get to your work, for you to earn that money in your 9-to-5 job, right? And the same goes in trading for these system losses, these unavoidable good system losses. They are part of your edge. They are simply business expenses of your personal trading business. Okay, that's how you should think about it. All right. So trading is only about perfect execution and you following all your rules. It's not more than that. Trading is only you following your rules no matter what. It sounds simple if I explain to you like that. Yes, but still, why are 99% of all traders out there not able to become consistently profitable if it sounds so easy? You can ask yourself. So the thing is, as I told you, most people underestimate trading psychology, and most people underestimate what trading actually is. Trading is actually fighting against your own self, right? Fighting against your emotions, fighting against your subconscious mind, right? And in order for you to be able to execute your strategy flawlessly, you need to learn how to rewire your brain. You need to learn how to retrain your brain, how to retrain your brain into thinking like a profitable trader, okay? And you need to learn how to regulate your nervous system so that you become kind of resistant against the immense pressure on the live markets, right? So that is making trading so difficult. That is the thing that 99% of all traders out there are not able to do. And let me clarify, I don't mean like that the strategy is not important. Strategy is also a very important part, because you could have the most regulated nervous system on earth, but if you don't have a good or profitable strategy, of course, it doesn't help. So you need both parts, okay? You need a good and profitable strategy, but you also need a regulated nervous system and a state of self-awareness in order to execute that trading strategy, right? So you need to train your brain and emotions to always feel the same on every single trade that you take, regardless of the outcome, okay? If it wins, you feel the same. If it loses, you feel the same. If it's a break-even trade, you feel the same, okay? Every day that you wake up and you get out of your bed, you need to feel the same way, okay? And that is actually the magic behind profitable trading, okay? So that's it for this short episode. I hope you have understood all the things that I told you within this episode. This is really, really important, okay? So if you didn't understand it, just rewatch this whole episode again, because this lesson is so, so important for you to become a profitable trader, because it's actually the foundation, okay? It's actually looking into yourself and look at your own flaws and learn to build the discipline and the good habits and retrain your brain into becoming the version of yourself that you need to be in order to be able to become that profitable version of yourself, right? So yeah, that's basically it. I hope this episode was insightful for you, and yeah, I'll see you guys in tomorrow's episode number 8, where we'll be diving into technical analysis more deeply. Okay? All right. See you guys. Wish you a good one.